right, everybody. Welcome to the Sensitive Skin Beer Virus reading number 4. It's a little snippet of music that I'm going to post on the magazine site tomorrow, sensitiveskinmagazine.com. It's a piece by Jenny Wade. She translated an Osip Mandelstam poem, and I'm going to publish that. And she wrote a song to go with it. She actually kind of raps in Russian. It's really cool. All right. This is fun, right? It's like great to see all you guys and getting people from around the country, around the world. We've got someone joining us from Paris. God bless you for joining us in the middle of the night. And we've got people, I see Flame is from Arizona. And we've got people from New York and Los Angeles and all over the place. Karen from Pittsburgh. So, all right, why don't we get started? Because you're probably tired of hearing from me already. Our first reader tonight is joining us from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And she is a poet who did not send me a bio. So I've known her for a long time. I knew her in New York City, and now she lives in Chattanooga, and she writes poems. And that's really, I know more about her than that, but I'll keep that private. Take it away, Mia Hansford.
Thank you, buddy. I'm going to read 2 poems that are kind of new, or like in the last year or so, and then a couple of poems from the old days. I felt like I wanted to read them because they recall a New York that maybe doesn't exist anymore. But this is Chattanooga. Mississippi Avenue. I'm pulling over, stopping with my phone. I know what I saw yesterday and the day before. The blossoms are here and they don't wait, standing, trying to plan a shot, low motor at my shoulder and along my head. Texture and a feel in the air taking over consciousness. Could be the car running, but it's a carpenter bee. Her body hunched, thorax tilting, she dives, wings speeding, mighty, oblivious. In a short blue distance, another alights and another. Suddenly an orchestra is sewing the tree, flying, their sound a thread, a wide swaths in and out, a composition flinging notes. The one I'd like to catch in frame barrels, arrows, points and lands, curves into a point of the whole exquisite flowering. She backs out and goes again. 100 more raving, burrowing into the lush pale carpet. Industry. Music I can't snap or grasp, only stand in. Heavy, buzz, low in the throat and almost electric, unceasing vibrato. The way a bassoonist takes a note and holds it, enters me and remains, fixing me where I stand to what I don't know. How they work, each one an instant, black, fur, and gold. I watch the trees, feel the wind January closes with. February nubs appear. A month later, their buds, almost frowning in their sewn-up state. Then March expands them. The schedule no one knows. The waiting, breath that rises before the body agrees and breathes again each year for a few days. I forget. Then it's here. No dallying, have to go to them. All that lives in the seasons of a few trees, showing a flat camera how unquestioning and automatic the job is, how efficiently all can be done. Purpose predetermined according to usefulness. There's only the structured, unbending song coiling in the sun, completing task despite chill or wind, intention, tasting, storing, all of them, each one moving across the tree. The petals open, the bees arrive and take all they can carry. No one is still and more keep coming. This moment, the life in it, almost by accident to witness and imagine. So many tiny things that must be done. A whole hive depending on the take. Neruda, he meant this, day 3, where some petals are slightly worn while a few remain unopened. The first day's flush and perfection now a memory. Still the blossoming keeps coming. hues so subtle, they're not even the color of dawn. I see Italian honeybees have joined the carpenters. I don't want to leave, but my house is waiting. Rod and Paula are arriving from El Paso, and they'll be arriving soon. Rod and Paula are driving from El Paso, and they'll be arriving soon. Oh my God, sorry about that. Just like stumbled through. All right, so that's Mississippi Avenue. That's like around the corner from my house. This is better. Not so rough. Okay, so just up the road from me is this place called Sewanee and Montego Mountain, and there's a place to hike there called Fiery Gizzard. And so this is Fiery Gizzard. Let me take you to a wood, so brown now. Its shallows and abundances seem to know a way to move the body along. In its stream and gold light, you'll see a whole world preparing for winter. The fat, dark ribbon rushes down. Here and there, flashes of light erupt. For an instant, one might think of water as architecture. The sound reverberates and falls back. From this tamped down ledge, we could sit and look into the churning and see the water moving in circles, how it follows the containing walls. See how it has changed the rocks, its moving surface bending shadows. In the silts, roving creatures make labyrinths all day. Damp, leather-bright leaves press the ground. Here in the cool air, I could be one of those boulders convening on the other bank, or be the wide, flat river stones descending in plaits to chorus, full of repose. If we keep close to the bank, we'll come to a wall of iridescent blue-black tongues. Maybe sit there before we turn and head back closer to the beginning, where a triptych between the trees is articulate as the rings moving out from the tiny falls. Shifting light tells canopy and current, tells a water strider and his shadow. We could be a teal-colored pool or the pale ruffled lace and discern as lichen eating the rocks discern. We might respond to that slow hunger as the stoic surfaces do, taking on the acidic crawl, holding it and containing it in a conversation that spans millennia. We tramp through so much brown earth. Brilliant mosses hug the dirt and surround felled things, and the birds high up are calling. Across the little ranger's bridge, left to right, holding rail, holding guide. In silences and rustlings and the smallness of the falls, a gleaning comes. We're almost back at the trailhead now. Let's sit on these two fallen stones and marvel at the cracks in the strata. The early afternoon light is gone, leaving the landscape matte in its colors, plain in its forms. All right, those are the new ones.
All right, we have time for one more quick one.
One more quick one? All right, so that decides it. So you guys remember the gas station. This particular poem, it's a shorty, is, you remember Toby Halleck, the iron worker? That's who this is. This evening, walking, stopped inside the doorway's ragged tin-roofed hall, clean dirt floor, every tool in place. A face lit by flames, a human, unlocked, unaware of anything, pounds an iron bar taller than he, crashes the vertical he holds in front of him down. Stomach, spine, hips, knees bend together repeatedly. Breath comes between blows. The ringing tells what heat is left. The light goes.
All right.
Thank you all. Thank you guys.
Bravo.
Thanks, Mia.
No, really, really, because you see, when I was in...
Sorry. No time for chatting, folks. That'll come afterwards. All right. And whoop, stuff's moving around here. This is crazy. Hold on. All right, our next reader joining us from New York City is Liza Béar. And Liza, is a New York-based writer and filmmaker. His short stories have been published in Bomb, Riot of Perfume, of course, Sensitive Skin, and Between C and D. Boy, everybody remember Between C and D? Oh, those were the good old days. Her animated text films include Earthglow, Pavova, and Beyond Anger, and they're all online. She's an NYFA Fellow in Creative Nonfiction and the author of Beyond the Frame, Dialogues with World Filmmakers from 2007. And her early films are in the collection of the Museum of Modern Art. Here's Liza Béar.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry about the lighting. I spent a lot of time, you'd think because I'm a filmmaker, but it's just, here's what I used to look like. Can you see? That's me in my garden.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to, since April is Poetry Month, I'm going to read one poem, which was written before the monster got elected in 2016, and then a very short fiction. And the poem is called Bucketed. The man with two blue buckets, one inside the other, a snug fit, strapped to the back of his rickety, hard-to-start motorbike. For a paint job, he said. A few minutes later, down the mountain road, in the same shot without a cut, now stands with his feet in one bucket, the other over his head, dolefully counting numbers in Mandarin. The thugs who locked his bike, stole his binoculars, have sped off with a roar, perhaps like the motorcyclists quartered by Drumpf in Washington, D.C. You see, it's hard to forget that image, because in the comic strip of a Grand Union performance, let's see, Buffalo, 1973, dancer Barbara Dilley says, "I'm bucketed." She stands in a bucket, hers an improvisational choice, on the bike path, an improvisational choice, beat. On the bike path from the Metograph, beneath the leafy boughs, spilling over the fence on Christie Street, I cycle past, stop, and turn my head. A jaunty, gorse yellow taxi cab is parked, not one of the ubiquitous funereal Uber limos. It's for hire light on. Kneeling, can't read this. Kneeling Mecca flat on the ground, facing Mecca flat on the ground, at an angle in front of the cab, a fringed, vividly purple prayer mat. The driver is standing at one end, then crouches down in prayer position, but not for long, gets up again, up, down, repeating the ritual for fear of losing a fare. Okay, now I'm going to read a piece of flash fiction, I guess you call it, called Separate Tables. And that was written on May 17th, 2016. Some of you may, if you know New York and the East Village, you may know this place. The B&H Diner on 2nd Avenue, not so long reopened after the East 7th Street gas explosion, was surprisingly devoid of customers. The waiter greeted me cheerily as I eyed the list of soups of the day and settled for P, a cup, which is actually a bowl. I sat down at one of the tiny tables in the narrow aisle. I was served instantly. The fresh, cushiony challah bread had a bare scraping of butter, but as an expat Brit, I brought my jar of Marmite for added flavor. "I've never seen it so empty," I ventured out loud. "Later they come," said the waiter, who had a Spanish accent. After I was about halfway through the thick, piping hot soup, a 50-ish man entered and sat on a stool at the counter. "Here's someone," he smiled, as though he'd overheard my conversation with the waiter. "Late lunch or early dinner?" I asked, emboldened by the smile. "Early dinner," the man responded, but when the waiter came over and took out his pad, he ordered eggs, bacon, the works. "Oh, You wanted breakfast after all, I pointed out as I paid my check. Yes, he said with a satisfied look on his face. I haven't been here since 1988 or 89. Moved to Brooklyn. He added, it's all yuppies and Eurotrash now. I commiserated and said goodbye. I think I'll come back tomorrow, said the man. Part 2, a week later. After giving my organic dry cleaners 5 stars on Yelp, I expected perfection on subsequent visits. It would have been nice to impress my left forum colleagues with a crisp white shirt with spotless collar and cuffs, but alas, that was not to be, and the job had to be redone. In any case, forum attendees have their minds on higher things than white shirts. Why else would Zizek have declaimed in full throat during the 3rd plenary that we at the forum were the true moral majority, not the religious right? Not burdened with cumbersome clothes on hangers from the cleaners, there was no reason not to repair to B&H, which was fast becoming a favorite port of call, now that Stage Restaurant across the street had closed, having been caught siphoning gas shortly after last year's explosion. Tonight, a slightly rotund man with striped shirt, suspenders, and a Panama hat walked in through the open door and called out in my direction. I'm looking for someone called Jacqueline, he enunciated clearly. Are you Jacqueline? Disappointed that I wasn't, he left amid chuckles from the customers. On rising, it had been warm enough to dress lightly and to try out the new scale at the pharmacy. The unforgiving scale had given me a higher reading than expected. Accordingly, I ordered a medium 5 vegetable juice, straight up with no soup or challah bread. I'd nearly finished reading the free paper that the previous customer had left at my table when the bespectacled man returned, now hatless. I gauged that he must live close by, maybe on the same block, to have been able to drop off his hat so quickly. This time, he had better luck with his search. While my head had been bent over the newspaper reading, a complete nuclear family apparently had slipped past me down the narrow aisle and perched themselves on the stools at the counter. A 6 or 7-year-old girl in pink shorts and floral tank top, a tall skinny dad in grey t-shirt and jeans, and a mom with resplendent mane of raven black hair and a t-shirt laced at the back for air. The mom was the Jacqueline the portly man had come to meet. She slid off her stool, took out a clipboard from her bag, and sat down on a small square table for 2 in front of me. She and the man traded language, but they spoke so quietly that all I caught was the number 34. It was a very brief encounter, seemingly more of a professional, consultative nature. The man thanked her profusely and immediately left the diner without ordering. Jacqueline rejoined her chirpy family at the counter and continued her meal. I surmised she had rendered him some kind of service and was glad, without wanting to know more. That's it.
Right, thank you, Liza. All right, now, as always, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. Jose, do you mind going next?
Oh, I'm sorry. Who?
All right, I have to mute you all because otherwise the audio goes crazy. Jose, I'm going to put you on next. I'm going to have Pity on Valiano. Is that okay? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Poor thing, it's 3:19 in Paris, so let's give her a break. All right, so Jose Padua was born in Washington, D.C. and is a veteran of New York's spoken literary scene. His first book, A Short History of Monsters, was chosen by Billy Collins as the winner of the 2019 Miller-Williams Poetry Prize and is now out from the University of Arkansas Press. His poetry and essays appear regularly at Vox Populi, and he writes the blog Shenandoah Breakdown. After spending over 10 years with his wife, the writer Heather Davis, and children in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley, he and his family are back in his hometown, Washington, D.C. All right, I'm very happy to present the most excellent Jose Padua.
Thanks, Bernard, and thanks for putting these readings together. I'm going to read, well, this first one is I just wrote last week. It's called Hi. My response to the current plague is to wake up a little later each morning. The kids are home from school and don't need to go anywhere, don't need to learn anything, at least not right now. Because what is there to learn during a crisis except how to stay alive? Keep your heart beating like a disco song. I remember the 70s being so, I remember the 70s, remember being so impressed by the beautiful color speed came in. Those beautiful days when my legs could still take me to far places. I go to sleep early now, lie down when I'm tired, don't stay up late writing poems and stories, listening to Pharoah Sanders, the New York Dolls, or discotheques and the Sexolettes. Holy Christ, was that a song, or was that a sign that someone was glad to see me since the last manifestation of apocalyptic ennui? I walk slowly down the stairs now in deference to my arthritic knees, aware that my sense of balance is something like a hit of acid, those long ago nights when I'd look at people without nodding even more than when I wasn't on acid or mushrooms. Oh, what a feeling that was. Oh, what a way to feel the non-ache and flexing muscle around my Filipino-American or sometimes just American young bones. And bones seem more important now, like the bone and pork at the grocery store, which I go to wearing a mask, mittens, goggles, and galoshes, because I like that alliterative ambiance. I like the way a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and a they is a they, doing it so gloriously for themselves, or I mean themselves, or whatever safe space sells. I eat quickly now, like a meal is a moment so easily stolen from you, watching the evening news while taking slow gulps from my glass of cold water, so far from those days when we drank Schlitz or Michelob and thought Coors was the ultimate beer, when nowadays we say, oh, seriously, fuck Coors and fuck beer. I want craft brew with a hint of cardamom and orange peel served in a mug that bears the logo of my favorite nonprofit organization. Treat me like my name is Bill Murray and my middle name is fucking. Believe in me like my name is Don Corleone and it's the first half of The Godfather before he got old. But my name is Jose Padua and my pronouns are motherfucker, motherfucker, and motherfuckers. How did it end up like this in this horse's rear end times? Why do I have to translate for you my existential bewilderments? Why am I on the bullet train back from New York when my friends are riding coach? I guess I'm lucky that way. And I'm amazed at how my son from such a young age made sure to describe the precise thing he wanted, like ice cold water or a cream cheese sandwich. Make sure not to cut it in half because that sucks. How my daughter paints pictures of things the way she sees them, stripped of the spectacle of corporate costume, entrance music, and color scheme. How my wife stands so long like a walk through a garden when it's a house we live in and not the open earth under a starry distant sky between river and mountain. Right before the plague, we packed up that old house in small town America. Half our neighbors were crazed, the other half wholesome as the virgin breath of infants. They met shelter from an atmosphere of rolling coal and diesel fuel. I think it was Guy Debord who said, it's so much easier for mainstream media to cover a brand than a genuine human being. Either that or me in a dream where I'm smart and lucid and have read every paragraph Guy Debord ever wrote in the original French. My name is Jose Padua. It's just a name I'm saying again because this is the time of modern plague and shit. It's a time of plague and they're asking us to choose between the lesser piece of shit and the worst piece of shit. Then telling us that if we hold out for something better, then we're a piece of shit too. I remember humanity before it became nothing more than an empty shell. Then I remember that humanity was always an empty shell. Every moment, the memory is different. So we take the kids out back, bounce the ball around or throw it away in the throw it out in the alley away from everyone else. Look up the wires on telephone poles, the loose strands that keep us connected to other faces and ways of life. I hear a voice in the distance saying something I can't understand, and footsteps, which means to leave them some space. Let them go on their way like disarmed enemies. This is America 2020, and I feel like I'm back on acid again, staring at people, my head still as a traffic signal, blinking, flashing, shining color as if to say, yeah, move on and call me motherfucker. And up above us, it's a cloudy day, and the birds are flying. They're keeping their distance from one another, making dark, wide circles in the scraping air as they fly so beautifully high, so beautifully high. That's, and then I'll read something a little cheerier. And this last one is, it's from like, I don't know, 10 years ago. It just got published recently online. This is called Robert Frost, and this is pretty much all true from about my New York days. Robert Frost. In the 90s, I decided I needed to spend more time thinking about my career as a poet. So when my friend Sharon told me there was a poets party at Stephen's apartment, I decided I should attend. There was a bar nearby, so I went there first. The bartender there was a friend of mine. I had a lot of friends who were bartenders, not as many as the poet friends I had, but if I'd ever decided to change careers, there were people in that business I could talk to. I talked to a woman who had the eyes of a psychic and was disgusted about something. I was fascinated, but being a poet, I had to leave to be with the poets at the poets' party. When I knocked and Stephen himself answered the door, I saw a room full of poets holding drinks, smoking cigarettes, talking about poems and books and concepts and all the beautiful things in the world. And I loved them all and everything they thought about so much. And I was so out of my mind by then, not with grief or disgust, but with beauty. And there was nothing else for me to do except say, you're an asshole to Tom, to Amy, to Ed, to Robert, to Paul, to Ken, to John, to Charles, to Kim, to Mike, to Stephanie, and in case I missed anyone, declare everyone in this room is an asshole. The next day, I ran into Tom on the street, and Tom asked me, so am I still an asshole? And Tom's hair was swaying with the wind, even though there was no wind, and the salt and pepper in his mustache fell lightly to the sidewalk as children walked by because it was Sunday and they were doing Sunday things. And this was New York, so everyone was always moving, always sad, always happy, always eating things they shouldn't be eating. And I answered, yes, Tom, you are still an asshole, and the East River is a muddy, dirty, muddy mess, except for that hour when it catches the sunlight just so and reminds me that beauty, even as it edges away from my still primitive soul, and despite what anyone else has ever said, is never a diminished thing. Okay, thanks.
All right. Hey, do you want to do one more quick one?
Oh,
We
okay.
got a little more time.
Oh,
For Valiano, all the way from, she's all the way in Paris.
Hey, Valerie. Well, here's this one that, it'll take a few. I just wrote couple of days ago. When I was a massacre of, this isn't a happy poem though, when I was a massacre of epic proportions. When I was a massacre of epic proportions and you were a murmuration of sad songs, we lived in a different world. Our meals were simple, gathered from ground and sea and cooked over an open fire or sometimes not cooked at all. My face had fewer lines. I could lift my weight in apples because my weight in apples was less than my weight is now. I began measuring these things in cinder blocks, this being a denominator as common as panic in a rapidly beating heart. Being a massacre, I could make my way through the world so easily. A war in Asia, a clash of ideals in Europe, a steady conquering of the poor and toothless in America. All were places and occasions where I was welcome, where everyone would stop what they were doing to say, "Oh, it's here," each time I showed up. When I left, you'd linger with your sad songs, tears running from your eyes, dampening the gathered souls like a warm summer's rain. Tonight, there are empty seats on an airplane going from China to Japan. There's a restaurant in Baghdad where dust hasn't been wiped from the tables in years. A child in New York stares out his bedroom window at the quiet street below. I sit in a room like a diminished tone of muscle because there is nothing so beautiful as these stark days, nothing as soothing as white noise from an old radio. Thank you.
Oh.
Bravo! Merci!
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right.
Ah, c'est génial.
Wait, what happened there? All right, I'm gonna spotlight myself for a moment. And look, this is now available. You can get this on Amazon. Our last three readers, Mia, Liza, and Jose, are all in this book. If you want more, you get this on Amazon or request it from your local book dealer. All right. And our next reader, strangely enough, is not in this book. I don't know why. Our next reader is Tony DuShane, joining us from Los Angeles, California. Let's see. Is that you? No, that's not Tony. Hey, wait a minute. Nuh-uh. Oh, no. Where'd you go, Tony? Tony?
I don't know. Help. Help.
I got the right mute. Let's see. All right, I'm still figuring this shit out. Is that you? Wait a minute. No. Where'd you go, Tony? Tony, where are you? Toran DuShane. Wait a minute, is that you? Tony, is that you? Tony?
Oh, no, that might be my mom. My mom's name's Tron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Hi, Mom. I didn't know she was going to be here. All right.
Oh, okay. Hold on a second here. I swear
Hey.
I'll get this.
Here he is again.
I'll get that's Tony Padua. Oh, okay. So I got the Tony part right.
I think I'm all one name in this for some reason. So it just goes Tony DuShane.
How come I'm not seeing you in the participants list? What? Oh, there you are. Wait, is that you? Yeah, that should be you. Okay. How come I'm going to make you the... Hey! Good Lord. Technology. Tony's not in the Sensitive Skin anthology because he hasn't sent me anything in a few years. It's crazy. Seems crazy. Tony is the author of Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk, which was made into a film directed by Eric Stoltz. I think you get that on Amazon Prime. Check it out. And he lives in Los Angeles. He's also my co-host for the new video podcast we started called The Last Watch, where we talk about TV from a writer's perspective. It's fun. We've done Better Call Saul and Westworld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. And we just did Better Call Saul again because it's so good we couldn't help ourselves. And next week we're going to do the best show on TV that nobody's seen, a show called Patriot on Amazon Prime. Amazing, amazing show. And those videos, you can find those on YouTube, Sensitive Magazine TV, all one word. Don't go to sensitiveskinmagazine.com. Just don't. It's a bad, bad place. You don't want to go there. But you can find the episodes of The Last Watch that we've done in the last few weeks. And also, this reading will be up there in a couple of days, and all the readings we've done, plus a ton of other stuff, tons of readings that we've done over the years from New York and whatever, lots of great people on there. And all right, I guess I've babbled on long enough. Without further ado, here is Tony DuShane.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. That was a lot of great stuff. Okay, I know my time. I'm on a time limit. I'm going. With this world turned sideways, I decided to go to the store for eggs. My mask is secure around my mouth and nose. I leave my apartment and walk the empty sidewalk to my car. I see a lady without a mask walk her dog while talking on the phone about her last online Tinder date. I smile and she gives me a dirty look. I forgot. She can't see my smile. My car is parked some blocks from my house. The joys of not having a garage in Los Angeles. Cafes are shuttered. Art galleries shuttered. Blue Scientology building not shuttered. I guess they're essential. It's hard to smile at people when they can't see my face. It's hard to frown at the Scientologist security guard as he whizzes by me on his bicycle, staring at me because I'm either a potential threat or a potential recruit into the arms of Tom Cruise. I soldier on. The streets are oddly empty. A man turns the corner and heads toward me. He's about a half block away. He wears a tank top showing all of his muscles and tattoos. He has a bandana as a mask around his face. If I cross the street, he'll know I'm crossing because of him. He continues my direction, arms swinging with violent rage. As long as I smile, he'll know I'm not a threat. Damn it, he can't see my smile. He can't see my vacant, zero reaction face either. The one I perfected living in violent neighborhoods. The, I see nothing, I have nothing, I'm going to keep walking. Like that time 10 years ago when a guy approached me in Berkeley with a long knife. And he said something, but I stared straight ahead with my empty, vacant look and walked past him like he wasn't even in my way. It's an art to appear steadfast, and at a level 0, all at once while your heart is pounding through your eyeballs because you're about to get stabbed or mugged. But it works. It worked for me in Berkeley 10 years ago. It can't work with a damn mask on. I'm a quarter block away from this inked up human muscle tank, and I'm trying not to stare at him, but really trying to gauge if I should just go ahead and walk across the street. He's taking up the whole sidewalk, and as he walks, he lifts his hands to his ears. I look to see if any windows in the apartment building near us are open. Anything, anyone, showing signs of life, so when I scream, they'll be able to call the cops, or he might run. And the point of no return. We enter each other's space bubbles, closer than 6 feet apart, dangerous on so many levels. I try not to look him in the eyes, and he passes me and as he passes me, his hands wipe away the tears he's crying. Behind me, I hear him say, "Why? Why me?" Muscle Machine Man was crying? He already passed me. I turned to look at him as he continued walking, and his body jars into uncontrollable sobs. His head lowered into his hand, and he's already a quarter block away from me. I know he needs a hug, but social distancing won't allow it. And he wouldn't know if my intentions were good or bad, because I have a mask on. That's the end. That's the end.
Gotcha. That was good.
All right, you're muted.
That was good.
Ha, the irony, I muted myself, not just all of you. That was kind of cool. We could all just like sit here and look at each other. I'm sorry, I got to mute because if there's 30 people talking at the same time, Zoom kind of goes crazy and lagging and squawking and squeaking. Anyway, thanks to all of our readers tonight. Mia Hansford, Liza Béar, Jose Padua, Tony DuShane. Excellent reading, everybody. Really good stuff. And, going to be doing this every Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. If you got the Zoom link, we'll be back here next Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. East Coast time. And I think we might have a special treat for you next week. I'm trying to get somebody kind of famous. All right, so we'll see if that works out. And yeah, go to sensitiveskinmagazine.com. All of tonight's readers have been published there at least once, if not multiple times. And you can also go to our Facebook page if you want to find announcements about future events and reading. Don't forget Sensitive Skin TV, one word, on YouTube for all of this good stuff. And that's it. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Nice reading. Thank you very much.
Happy Merry Quarantine, everybody. May you have a very Merry Quarantine.
Bye. Bye, Uncle Tony. Bye, Jose.
Nice to see you.
Good night, John Boy.
Yeah, I love what you wrote.
Hi, Glenda.
Bye, everyone.
That's it.
Bye.
Sally.
That's it.